All right, now, welcome everybody, wherever you may be tuning in from and whenever you may be tuning in from. This information is truly timeless. Let me just make sure that we don't have any disturbances before we really get going. And true to my design, true to my being, I do not rehearse what I will say because then it wouldn't be truly something unique or a possible unique expression of mine. So no rehearsals. We're going to this live and letting whatever comes through come through without interfering with it, because that is what we are really here to do in this life, to embody what we already are, not to try to be something that we are not. You know, we hear all kinds of stuff from online. The information access is essentially unlimited. And because we live in such an age that we are being bombarded with all kinds of information for every type of situation and all kinds of variations, interpretations, whatnot. So when we come to the human design system, let's just take our time a little bit, because, you know, with such ease of access to information, the mind doesn't really have the capacity to tell what's what should be of importance, what is of importance to you, particularly as an individual, not what the masses force feed you. But what generally tends to happen is whatever the mass propaganda, whatever the mass is force feeding, the collective consciousness is feeding the individual, that is what the individual takes on and identifies with it as itself. So the absolutely fantastic gift of human design gives us an absolute certain mechanism, not a concept. You know, a lot of times when people get into or talk about human design, you know, I've taken this for now 3 years or so. And in some ways, for those who have gotten deep into human design, which is not too many people, to be honest with you, although we hear of it from all kinds of people, and I'm happy. Everybody should be happy and about the fact that Ra Uru Hu's work, you know, some of these names, terminologies may be new to you, so stick with the channel. Everything will clear itself up as we go along. We're going to go through the basics to the intermediate and also all the way to the advanced and how they all connect back to each other. But there are certain information that if you do not get and if you do not apply, then all of this human design system, self-discovery system, embodying your authentic self will only remain on a mental plane, only as a thought, only as a concept, only as a coulda, shoulda, woulda. So this is not a mental concoction. This is not a mental concept. This is a very logical, empirical system that the mind can also understand. So in that respect, it is mental because it is logical, but it is not mental in the sense of application, that the application has to happen on the body level. So unless you take this information and you apply it on the body level, and we'll talk about what this means, then you're not doing anything with this. Then this is just one of those, as Ra Uru Hu would call, you know, it's like a fart in the wind, a thought form, you know, that just comes and goes like a cloud. Some of them may seem more interesting than the others, but in the true sense, only then it becomes a reality in your life, as they call it in the human design system. The experiment is when you apply the deeply logical, empirical system such as the human design system. But I don't know why. So because it's all coming through, I don't need to interpret or analyze what I'm about to say. But during this last 3 years of me diving deep into the human design system, I came into the human design system from astrology, more particularly from Eastern astrology, or as they say, Vedic astrology, Hindu astrology, chakra, Brahmin astrology. So, and prior to that, from yoga science, meditation, breath work, and prior to that, from plant medicine entheogens such as ayahuasca. So I've had my own initiation path, as you would call it. And to come to this point, to the human design system, part of me wishes, and you get to see as we go along, part of how we are this dualistic consciousness experiment on this planet Earth. So there's a duality to everything that we are and do and think and act and feel and all of that. So part of me is very hopeful about what is happening, about my own personal experiences, about the absolutely magnificent knowledge and potential and transformative ability of the human design system for one's embodiment of one's true self. And then on the other side, I have something that's called guilt, which is part of, thinking that there's something wrong with the world and needs to be fixed and all of that. So we have a duality, and then we'll get into how can you navigate all of this, because the human design system gives us definitive keys, not, interesting. Maybe this works, maybe this doesn't, like everything else in life that we have been experimenting with, right? This is not one of those things. So when you hear the very word, get into your experiment, it does not mean tinker with everything that you get out of human design. It means get into your own particular experiment as given to you by the human design system. So you'll see these videos, you see a screen right now, you'll see something. This is called the mandala, the human design mandala, which in itself, just in and of itself, is just look at it. Have you seen anything like that come through lately? With such detailed precision, with such logical ability to dissect and differentiate all the parts that we know life to be in such detail that never before experienced. This is an absolute science. And then on the left, you see all those little pieces and images and boxes and text and whatnot. That's just my process. This is my canvas of trying to understand and relate to and connect to and teach others and do reading for others and so forth and so on. So we will get into all these different moving parts on the left, which explain this mandala, which is basically the keys to the matrix, the programming code to the Maya, to the matrix that we consider life on this planet, from a general view, meaning from a totality view, from the holistic overall view, which is everything, right? And then how do we, as a possible differentiated, self-reflected consciousness, as an individual, a unique individual, how do we filter this consciousness field? Because at the end of the day, if we look at you as the individual, you are a unique manifestation of source infinite energy, infinite creator, the universe. Whew, how mouthful, right? And 2/3 of us, as we would know in the human design system, have a open ego heart center. That means we don't know our worth. That doesn't mean that it's fixed to be that way forever, but that's how it starts. And that's how it is for the vast majority, pretty much 100% of us. So to hear something like you are a manifestation, a spark, an emanation of the infinite creator, of the infinite universe. What What does that make you? What does that make me? What does that make everybody? But with an open ego heart center, you don't know your worth. So how could it be that you are boundless, that you are beyond measurement of worth, that you are always worthy, with or without doing or having anything, just by the very air that you breathe right now? So when we hear things like this, it almost seems like, oh, you're getting a, like a motivational speech, uplifting. No, it's not about that. It's about recognizing what you are, and that how you are, how you came into this world is perfect as is. Different from me and everybody else. That is where our unique perfection lies. However, we're not living uniquely. We know this. The human design system simply shows us in absolute detail how that goes. So we don't need to get into the mind trip. Oh, there's something wrong with me. Oh, I gotta go fix. I gotta have this drug, or I gotta have this medicine, or I gotta have this therapy, or I gotta go do that. So then I'm okay, because I'm not okay now. And the mind will always find something to find that is not okay. And then the next day, something else, and on and on. Whether that be relationships, your workplace, your environment, the family that you were born into, your looks, your very thoughts, your personality. We get so identified with all of that and thinking that there's something for us to do with it. So why all of this? First of all, I wouldn't do this live if I wasn't guided into this space and process this very moment, if it wasn't for my inner authority. The first and the most important thing that you and anybody who comes into human design should get is strategy and inner authority. In this day and age of information overload, everybody's speaking so fast because everybody has ADHD. So they think that you have ADHD. There's an attention disorder. There's an attention span of less than 10 seconds. Marketers know this. So you got to have all these shorts and reels that you got to talk really fast. So you grab the person's attention in order to be able to convey the message that whatever you are supposed to do. Now, as you can see, I can speak fast like that, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, this is something that you have to take some time with and integrate this. So before we get into all the details, because there is so much detail in the human design system that you can literally lose yourself. And if you're studying this to possibly teach this or guide others or coach others, make sure that you study it from the source information. This is not putting a person, in this case Ra or Hu, to the pedestal. This is once you go deep enough and that you realize that this information is precise. The words used are very precise, very deliberate. It's all a code. It's all frequency. Over 100 years ago, a wonderful man by the name of Nikola Tesla. If you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So all of this, you, me, everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. So when you utter a certain word, it has its own frequency. Now, you may not like that word, and another person may like it, depending on the emotional wave. We'll get into that. Some of that may be familiar to you if you've been delving into human design. But the frequency of the words still remains, regardless of how you perceive it in the moment of your emotional wave, as an example. So, and then when we come into this whole thing, and this is where I was partially in my, plant medicine, we get this spiritualized ego. Like, I am spiritual and they are not. I understand the world. I am love and light and they are not. They are lower. I need to elevate them. Then you see some person like was it Dr. Daryl Hawkins that has the map of consciousness levels, and then our mind, because it's so linear, you think that, oh, so I have to move up levels. So fear, bad; joy, good. I love you, good. Encourage that. I hate you, bad. Don't say that. Reject that. Teach your children not to say that. Happy, good; sad, bad. You see? So again, the whole notion of what is good and what is bad, if you really just contemplate that, or better yet, meditate that, take that in. It's not all of an immediate. One of you may get it at this point. Be like, good and bad. Is that something that is subjective or objective? Because it is, once we get it, it's a very subjective process. Now, it's funny for me to say that because my profile in human design is 4-6, but up until the age of 28, 30, when I have my Saturn return, that means that it was a 4-3. So a lot of trial and error, right? A lot of subjective experiences. And then when I come to the 6th line, where I am right now on the roof stage, we'll explain all of this. Now I am being more objective. And I'm able to take in the human design system after, of course, my own conditioned struggles too, that the information is inherently not good or bad. It just is. So when you read a line or a gate, a wording, know that it's a specific frequency to describe part of this experience, movie, game of life, the Matrix, the Maya. You see, I'm using many different words because you may come from one word association and you're like, yeah, I resonate with that. Again, something else comes up. I resonate with that. That doesn't resonate with me. We live in an age of this, call it new age, whatnot. And again, you may sense that I'm saying this in a negative sense. That may be wherever you're receiving it from and whatever my mood happens to be. But the truth is, there is no good and bad in any of this. So I resonate with that. I don't resonate with that. It's interesting because when we'll get, I guess we're just going to go to it, naturally. So if you say, okay, we got profit centers, everybody loves to know how to make money. And in the human design system, that's also an absolute way to find that out, which is funny that we would even focus on that. But then again, materiality. We are a bioform experience in this life, so we need to sustain ourselves. Anyways, so when you say something resonates with me or doesn't resonate with me, and then if you say, remember we said that the most important thing for a person to be able to align with your authentic self, with your differentiated, unique, individual self, is to embody the strategy and authority, your strategy and authority, as radically as possible. And we'll get into that. And then why to do that? Well, I mentioned the word resonant and doesn't resonate. This is the thing. When you come to anything, you come into it as what you are already from birth. Yes, very true. But then there are layers that are added on top of that, which we then call conditioning. Now, again, we get words. You see, I'm taking my time with this because we can easily get lost in some word that doesn't resonate with you at this very moment, and then be like, no, I want to go listen to something more uplifting. If you really want to embody your authentic self, you don't run away from yourself. You don't latch on to just the good, because then the good will have to be balanced by the bad, or the high will have to be balanced by the low. So just try to just take this in. So there are these layers, we call them conditioning. Conditioning that takes you away from your authentic self. So the conditioning starts as early as the first week after conception, as you are a fetus being developing. You're not even you yet, if you know what I mean. Your personality, your soul, your psyche has not even entered the body, because it does so, as we find in the human design system, in the third trimester of the pregnancy. So the first 2 trimesters of the pregnancy, there's only the body. I know it sounds crude. It's only the meat. It's a fabulous vehicle without which we would not be able to experience life, this body, right? This is the life. This is where we come into that realization that the body is not a problem. I came into this through yoga, a 7-centered science, absolutely a science. However, the body was seen as more of a problem, more of an obstacle, more of a something that gets in the way. In the human design system, the body is seen as the vehicle, the tool, the way, the life. You see? But ever since conception, first week into it, we start getting conditioned by whom? By our own, very own, lovely mothers. So whatever is in their design, so I guess, you see, there's so many things. Don't worry, we'll get into all of this. Just bear with me, because I'm just flowing with this. You know, there's so many layers to this. So, you see, let's just kind of jump across here. This is a person, this is a person. This is what you would say in the human design. These are body graphs, okay? We're gonna put more structure into these videos eventually, but this is how I flow right now, so let it come, and whoever recognizes and sees that we can collaborate on some things, please do reach out, because I am a generator, so I am here to respond. So you have you, and then you have your mother. Naturally, in the first 2 trimesters, your body graph won't be complete because it's doing the work. But let's just kind of keep it simple. This is you, this is your mother. And from the womb, there's the quantum, meaning the sum of the 2 of you, which is greater than the parts that make it. So this is something else, this creature, the we, the you and the mother. The you is different than you alone. So 9 months in that womb of the mother, you are conditioned by the design of the mother. So you see how early the conditioning, the layers on top of the existing design and imprint that you carry as a genetic makeup. Layers, mother, layers, family, siblings, whoever you're spending a lot of time with. Layers, whoever you're sleeping next to. Layers, education, layers, culture, society, government, world, expectations, mass consciousness, layers, layers of conditioning. So what resonates with you, you see, this is what I was trying to get at. What resonates with you, who do you think you are? You don't even know who you are. That's why when anybody gets a human design reading, they're always so almost downright emotional. It's not like you hear anything that you don't inherently know, because it is you that is getting your reading. You know what I mean? It's already in you what you hear from somebody else who does the human design reading for you. And it's almost like the first time you're like, wow, somebody saw me, you know? But there are the other layers through which the reading is able to go through, but also through which the reading is able to tell you, hey, these are the places where you get your conditioning. So when you say this resonates with me or doesn't resonate with me, you don't have any idea. Your mind cannot tell you if this is conditioned, what you call resonates with me, or if this is deeply what is you on a genetic level. Get it? So until we have a way to clear all that, pardon my language, junk of conditioning, the reason it's junk because it gets into the way of the original software, original hardware, which is you, your body, your soul, your personality. And the only way we can do that, yes, breathwork and meditation got me to a sense of clarity to be able to receive the human design information directly from the source and dive into it and not let anything dilute it. So all of the information that I share with you is only and only through Ra Uru Hu's teachings, lectures, courses, books, transcripts, and whatnot. And then I share anything in addition to that. I share my own experiment, not tinkering with the system, keeping true to the system, following my strategy and authority, and sharing my experience. And if that mutates you on some level, then it's perfectly fine for you. And hoping that all of us start embodying our strategy and authority while being cognizant and recognizing that, as Ra Uru Hu would say, nobody is a messiah here. Everybody is experiencing whatever they need to experience, and we all have our own fractal geometry that we are, permanently on. So we will meet each other, this life or another life, whatever you want to call it. And the information will be taken by certain people, and then they will reword it. And I will do some videos on, the so-called influencers of the human design and any other derivative systems that may have been created from the human design system and renamed as something different or their own. If you're getting the picture of what I may be referring to, we'll get there in another video. But right now, I feel like we just want to go here. So one of the main things to look at is, because your mind, it's always interested. So to keep it entertained, but in a way that is beneficial for you and can help you go back into your own alignment through strategy and inner authority. One thing that I learned from Ra Uru Hu is no matter what course, what lecture, what program he was teaching, always without exception, he would take us back to strategy and inner authority. And until I realized what it was, what it means, it doesn't really stick. Meaning, if you approach the human design system by going and looking at your chart, it's a beautiful thing to do, the body graph, right? So let me just, if I start going into my chart like this, okay? And we'll get into those details that I've pulled out. But if I look at this okay, so I have, these are gates, right? These numbers. And after the dotted line to the right, these are the lines of the gates. And these are the planets. So this is your conscious side, meaning who you think you are. And this is your design side, your unconscious, which is your body. So we don't have conscious access to this. Again, this is one of those, there is no such system aside from the human design system where you're actually able to see your unconscious genetic imprints. Poof. And to see that, although you don't have any access to it, but just to be able to have a level of awareness to see that this is playing out. I don't need to control it. I have no control over it. However, others will see that more in me. It's sort of like if you see the black, which is the conscious side, this is what you see and recognize. If I say this is you, you're like, yeah, that's me. And then I may say that and you not necessarily recognize it in you, but if someone else who knows you would recognize it because it's not hidden from them, but it is hidden from you. So if you use the road analogy, the conscious, meaning the black in your chart, is a visible road of energy. And the red, the unconscious, the design, the body, that's the tunnel roads that you don't see, but you know there's some roads that go through it. And you, I, and everybody else is a quantum of the two. So you can't be just focused on what is my personality side because that's something I have access to, or focusing on your design side, or because that's not something you can do anything about. You can just see like, okay, I have this. And this is always playing out, or sometimes playing out, depending on if it's connected to a lit up or a defined center, energy center, or if it's part of an open or undefined center. So strategy and authority will be the only way you can actually access your truth. And the challenge to that, what you're going to have to navigate through in life, is whatever is white or open or receptive in your body graph. So instead of going into all the meanings of these gates, that's what I was trying to share with you, because you can get lost in that, and it is so seductive. It is so on point. So for me, I went into every single one of these gates and lines. That led me to studying the Rave I Ching book of the 64 hexagrams deeply, and then the line companion, explaining all these lines below the gates deeply, going into the colors, the tones, the rightness or the leftness in some cases for others, and to understand how it all holistically plays out. But that's me. So I could be able to come here and then share this with you. But none of that means anything if I don't embody what I am. What I am is I am a sacral being. Whoever has this center defined or colored in, that's the sacral center. That means you are a sacral being. That's the first thing, because that way then you know which of the four types you are, you know. So you see, I'm going from place to place because I want you to understand that you can really get lost in this information. However, as we navigate through this ocean of information, we're going to get really what's for us. So I'm going to reiterate what was the main point. The main point of Ra Uru Hu, you probably said it a million times, if not more than that: strategy and inner authority. But how will you know what is your strategy and inner authority? You will only know that by knowing your type. Just like it's important to know your blood type, right? This is more important than knowing your name, than knowing your nationality, than knowing your gender even. And the differences are stark. It's like these are different. We're all the same species. Let's not get into that. But these are different types of the same species. There are 4 types. Some people online have gone about and making up their own mental concoction that there is a 5th type. And no, there is not a 5th type. If you understand auras, electromagnetic field. So electromagnetic field is a scientific fact. Every human being emanates an electromagnetic field, up, down, sideways, every single direction from you. 2 arms lengths, your electromagnetic field generally reaches 2 arms lengths. So when you spread your arms, imagine 2 arms lengths every direction. That's how big your electromagnetic field is. That's the scientific term for aura, A-U-R-A, all right? So when you say aura or electromagnetic field in human design, we call them types. So you can use aura, electromagnetic field, and type interchangeably in this context. And there are only 4 types, not 5, 4. What others consider 5th type to be, that is an actual generator. And again, it has certain similarities, qualities than the manifester, the subtype, which is considered by some cases to be a 5th type, which it is not. It's still part of the generator family because it still has the generator aura, an open enveloping aura, but with manifesting capabilities. And that would be what you call the manifesting generator. I myself, this is my body graph, I myself am a manifesting generator. I'm not what you would call a pure manifesting generator because that would require that I would have the gate 34, which I do, and I would have the gate 20, which I don't. That would make me a pure manifesting generator. So anybody who has 3420, that is a pure manifesting generator. Without going into these details in this video, just understand that whatever type of manifesting generator you are still a generator, and you still have to live by the truth and the strategy and authority of a generator. You do not get to mix the two up because there is some misinformation out there. And again, this is where people kind of fumble the ball and thinking that the experiment means change the words as you like them. Just look at the visuals of the body graph. Like, I'm being serious right now. Like, I challenge anybody to be able to produce anything remotely like this. I can't. You can't. Nobody else has been able to. This is what Ra-Uru-Hu received. A lot of people call him the founder. In a way, he was the founder of Jovian Archive, which is your most preeminent destination for the most authentic human design information. But he himself would say, I did not create the system. Even when in interviews, they would ask him sometimes, like, so how did this system come to you? How did you create it? Like, I didn't. He would always correct them. I did not create the system. I received this system from the voice, what he called a mystical 8-day experience in the island of Ibiza, what he called the voice, an entity that took him over. He had no choice but then to basically surrender to whatever the voice was given him. And he received all of this knowledge. This is not practice knowledge. So when he would speak, he would speak. He wouldn't think about what he's going to say next. So it's so important to understand that this information is not for everybody to tinker with. Whatever you can experiment with through your own strategy and authority, that's beautiful. But take this information as cleanly and as purely as possible if you are on that fractal, as I am, as Ra-Uru-Hu is, and as everybody else is, who keeps the information true to how it came from the source. And when we mean from the source, it came from the voice expressed through the sound, through the voice, through the acoustics, through the verbal expression detail of Ra-Uru-Hu. So this is not to put him on a pedestal, although I would love to see him and hug him, but he's a manifester. He has a closed and repelling aura. He may not even like that very much. But then again, he also had gate 40, and gate 40 is this, you can massage their ego with love, of hugs. So in a way, maybe he would let me hug him, who knows? But he still has a closed, repelling aura. I am a manifesting generator. I have an open enveloping aura, and I have my own strategy and authority. And my strategy is I am a sacral authority. But my strategy, that's my inner authority. My strategy is wait to respond. Now, that's the hardest thing to do nowadays. I came into human design through years of breath work, meditation, and yoga posture, asanas, physical postures. A lot of silence, a lot of solitude, eating clean, all of that stuff, like basically leaving the whole mundane life behind. And we are in such a sense of doership that it's hard, especially for the three other types, generator, projector, reflectors, to not initiate, to not take the first step towards everything, because that's the manifester. They're here to initiate. That's how their aura is designed. This doesn't make them any better or less. It's just the way we are. This goes back into, as Ra Uru Hu would say, self-love, but self-love that starts from self-acceptance. I am what I am. If you like what I have, wonderful. If you don't like what I have, still wonderful. That's not my problem. You can go elsewhere. Not in the sense that I am what I am because I am beautiful, I am this, I am that. No, I am what I am, and this is all that I need to be. I don't need to prove myself, although I have an open ego center where I don't really know my worth. So to have all of that and to distill it down to one basic sentence, seeming basic sentence: strategy and authority. Follow your strategy and authority. If you don't do that, there's no human design for you. There's just mental stuff. And we are living at a time where all of this information is possible. Such detail to be able to see. I mean, look at the body graph. The body graph is a representation of your genetic makeup. Oh my goodness, your genetic makeup. People are still looking for, we have cracked the genome, the human genome. We think we're going to understand this is it. Yeah, but nobody's talking about it. Yeah, well, because this is not going to be mass information. This is, as Ra Uru Hu would say, this information is for children. Some of the lucky ones like us who receive this information, we all have to play our own part. Like, I understand this so deeply that the persons who have received the human design system from first source being Ra Uru Hu, but I didn't receive it from Ra Uru Hu. I received it when I read the book, The Definitive Book of Human Design by Linda Bunnell, who is one of the closest students of Ra Uru Hu, or was before he passed away. And he authorized that book, The Definitive Book of the Human Design System. And then when I understand what her design was, and what her profile, the 4-1 profile, a fixed fate profile. So basically, she was the bridge between somebody like me and Ra Uru Hu, so I'm able to receive the information. And I know other 4-6s like myself have been close to him somehow and received the information, and they've taken it and done something of their own. And here I am doing something of it, trying to stay as true to it as possible, and then sharing my own experiment with that. 2027 is closing in. And I'll be honest with you. It's exactly the way it should be. Everybody gets what they should get. So there's nothing wrong in that sense with anything. But from what I see, people don't get it. People don't get it. It's hard for me to focus on anything right now. And the word focus is something that we've taken to be necessary or valuable or important or the way to be. And then we label people as if, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, whatever it's called, that there's something wrong with that person, personality disorders, whatnot. I want to, again, maybe zoom back here and show you my design, because you'll see some things here that you see these arrows. This is more like advanced stuff, but I want to say that to you because that's why I can be extremely focused, but I can truly only be focused if somebody else asks me something. So you see, because I'm doing this in response, but my true nature with the all rightness, these 4 variables are called, we'll get into this on another video separately. It deserves its own time. But me being an all right, it means essentially that, okay, this is my motivation. I'm not strategic, I'm receptive. If you look at, and this is perspective, like how I view, what kind of view I have. So if you look at my frame, so to speak, and my lenses, so to speak, I don't have a focus. I cannot focus. It's by design, I cannot focus. And imagine somebody like me, and maybe this is your child also, or maybe this is your spouse, or maybe this is you, partially right or all right. You're not here to focus. You're not here to be strategic. You're not here to be strategic. You're not here to focus. You're not here to be active. You're not here to be observed, meaning constantly doing something, but rather to observe, to be the observer, to be the passive one, to be the receptive one, to be the peripheral one. That's me. But living in a strategic world as we do now, this seems unhealthy. This seems weak. This seems detached. This seems disconnected. So if I didn't know this, I would constantly be thinking that there is something wrong with me. What's wrong with me? Why can't I finish things? Why can't I be willful? Why do I make promises that I cannot keep? And so on and so forth. Why am I always in a hurry? Why do I lose it emotionally? Why do I hold on to things and don't know what's good for me? Why do I constantly try to answer other people's questions? I'm picking up these open centers and I'm using the keynoting, the keywording, as Ra Uru Hu shared with us, to recognize our layers and layers of conditioning, which he calls the not self, the not self. So if you missed anything, or if you gain anything from the video or this stream up until now, the 2 keys for you is, what is my strategy and authority? Main thing, all right? I know this all looks fantastic, and it is, but the main thing from this precision, highly logical, empirical system of self-discovery is to get your strategy and authority. That way, and only that way, you can start your own experiment. Stay true to your strategy and authority. And then you can start finding the ease, the lessening of resistance in life, getting into the embodiment, which takes time. So the experiment can start today, right now. But the level of conditioning that has been built up over the years takes, as Ra Uru Hu himself would say, this is on a genetic cellular level. The first major layer of cleanup, of deconditioning, takes 7 years. 7 years. Critical mass will be reached after 3.5 years. So after 3.5 years, more than half of your bodily cells will have been aligned with your strategy and authority, meaning they're not collecting additional conditioning elements on it.